Hi, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And today we are interviewing a radio host from 99.5 WYCD, also Detroit's #1 for country. Racheal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Max. How are you
Welcome.
doing?
I'm doing good. So,
Good.
who do you work with?
I work in the I work in the morning with Josh and Grunwald. It's Josh, Racheal, and Grunwald in the morning on 99.5 WYCD. Run from 5 until 10 a.m. on 99.5.
Are you in the studio after you're on air?
After we're on the air?
Yes.
For a little while. You know, all of any production work that we have to do. Like tomorrow I've got to record a couple of commercials. I'm at an event on Saturday. I got to record some things for that. So any stuff that we have to do like that, we do after our show, or outside of the hour. So I usually stick around in the studio after the show and record anything like that, any commercials and stuff that I have to do for production.
Fun. I know I just interviewed Grunwald a couple months ago, and now it's your turn. I have Sarah next Thursday, but
that's going to be a fun one when you talk to Sarah.
And it's in studio too. In studio.
Oh wait, you're going in studio?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. But I cannot believe Josh doesn't do interviews.
I'm going to have to talk to him about that, Max, because you had requested an interview with all of us.
Yes.
Josh, Racheal, Josh, myself, and Grunwald. I know Grunwald did it. I was a little slower to the table, but I'm here now. And yeah, Josh was like, why don't you do that? And I don't want to press him, but I'm curious. Well, I think sometimes it's hard because we get asked to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if you say yes to everything, you're always going to be doing something. So sometimes, so I think he's kind of drawing. I think, to be honest with you, I think he sees Grunwald and he sees how much we do outside of the radio station. I think he's starting to teach himself at a younger age not to get as involved, because he's young and he travels and stuff on the weekends, and he and his girlfriend are always going here and going there. They're always out of town. Whereas Grunwald and I, we're around town. We're I was my month of September outside of our show. This Saturday, I'm doing a suicide prevention walk it's the east side somewhere. And then next weekend, we're broadcasting live from the auto show. And then the weekend after that, I'm hosting the St. Jude walk. So we do a lot of charity stuff outside of work. Also, next Saturday night, I'm hosting an event for a charity event for a little girl with cancer. So we do a lot, we do a lot of stuff. I don't think literally in the month of September, every single month, every weekend, I'm doing a charity event or hosting an event. And and I think that I think he's just saying no, I think he's drawing the line early so he doesn't get involved in it. But yeah, you need to get involved. So, you have to get involved, I think, somehow. I'll talk to him after today, and I'll try to twist his arm for you. Okay.
All right. He just said he doesn't do interviews anymore.
I'll talk to him. We'll see. Maybe Sarah and I together can talk him into it.
Yes. And then Rob also said he'll talk to him too.
Are you interviewing Rob?
I already have.
Have you talked to Holly?
I'm trying.
Okay, I'll talk to Holly. Holly and our boss's daughter got married a couple weekends ago, and Holly and I ended up, she and her husband and my husband and I the four of us were at a table by ourselves, because all the other people at our table had COVID and couldn't go to the wedding. So it was just Holly and her husband and my husband and I, and we had a great time. But we really bonded because we don't see each other very much. She works at night. I work in the morning. We have complete opposite hours. So unless there's a meeting, we see each other on Zoom meetings, or if there's a meeting in person at the radio station or a concert, we really don't see each other very often.
And I've tried to interview Coop and Katie and Brew and
Brew. He's a hot one on TikTok.
I've seen that.
Yeah, he's got quite the following.
I just can't figure out what email he has for Audacy, so I've just Instagram DM'd him.
I'll try to find out. I'm not sure if he's in our email. I'll look into that tomorrow morning. I'm not sure if he's in our email system or not. Huh.
All right.
Good question.
Do you have holiday parties with the country radio team?
You mean like staff wise?
Yes.
We have, it used to be, I've been there a long time. I've been at WYCD for 17 years. And back in the day, I think we used to have a summer party and we had a few more events, but now we do have a one holiday party once a year. It's usually around the holidays. Now this past year, I think it was in June. It was kind of the opposite. It was, opposite from the holidays because I don't know what happened. But yeah, we have usually just one big holiday party once a year, and every single radio station in our building, our Audacy building in Southfield, the 5 radio stations. So everyone from the Ticket, WWJ, WOMC, the alternative station, and YCD, everybody's there. So it's fun.
Do you have anxiety while or before you are recording?
See my cat in the background? Isn't he cute?
Yes, I do. I do.
That's his name is Buddy. He's so cute. Buddy, come here. You know what? No, I think I've been in the business long enough that I really don't get anxiety about going on the air and recording and stuff like that. The thing that I think gives me anxiety is like when we have to do TV appearances, stuff like sometimes we do TV appearances, or like we MC, or like when you go on stage in front of Ford Field, in front of, however many 50,000 people, it can be a little intimidating sometimes. So yeah, I might get anxiety before or MCing, and we MC a lot of events, Rainbow Connection and St. Jude, and they're big events that raise like millions of dollars. And you want to be on, because if they're not on, you feel like, oh my gosh, we're not going to raise as much money as they would have if so I think I get more nervous for some big events like that we host, because that's like out of my comfort zone. I mean, we do them quite often, but I do radio every day, so I'm a little more, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
How many years have you been doing radio for?
Hang on, I could do a little math. 1980, well, it's 22 and 80. I started in 1988 is when I went to broadcasting school. And right after broadcasting school, I got a job. So I started in radio in 88 in Hartford, Connecticut, in Connecticut. And I was on the air there for 4 years. And I did airborne traffic reporting in an airplane. And it was a lot of fun. And then I got married and we moved here, and I started here in like 92, 93. So what's that? 12 and 22. Gosh, I've been in the business for like 30, 34 years. It's a long time.
How many years just at WYCD?
17. Grunwald and I started there together in December of 2005. So I'm coming up, this December would be my 17th year at WYCD, which is, I'm so grateful for, because it's kind of unheard of to be, at a station. In radio, there's a lot of turnover. It's hard to stay somewhere that long. So I'm very grateful.
Did you work at any other radio stations before WYCD and the traffic?
No, you know what? My very first job was on a station called in Hartford, WTIC AM 1080. And that's where I did the traffic for 4 years. And then when I first came to Detroit, when I first moved to Michigan, I said there's actually like a traffic reporting system, and it's actually, I think, a good way for people to break into broadcasting. But there's a traffic reporting system. Then it was called Metro Traffic, and they provided traffic reports for all the different radio stations. So when I first came here, I sent tapes of me doing traffic in Hartford out to Metro Traffic. And I did traffic reports on WJR, WWJ, WNIC, W4 Country. There was a whole bunch of them. But then I landed at DRQ, 93.1 DRQ, and that when it was a pop station. And I was there for about 7 years, and then they flipped format, and they flipped format, and everybody lost their jobs. And then after that, I was at YCD. So this is, this is my third, regular station. I had that little period where I did traffic on a bunch of other stations.
What is your favorite thing to talk about on air?
This is my buddy. My favorite thing to talk about, I like entertainment. I'm someone who I like to watch, a lot of E, and I like, my whole life I've been buying, I ever register, I'd buy Inquirer magazine and Star magazine. I've always liked like entertainment news and things like that, and watching the Grammys and watching award shows. And I, even more so than the award shows, I like the red carpet. I like to see what people are wearing. So I love to talk about, I do 2 entertainment reports every morning, sometimes 3 if we have a lot, like, this is a big day today, Max, with Queen Elizabeth dying. Tomorrow morning, we'll probably, talk about that quite a bit in the morning. So I like doing, that's the stuff I really like. Like when something like that happens, I will have every single TV in my house, on the news right now, for the latest news on what's going on in England and stuff. So I like talking about celebrity news, entertainment, things like that, TV.
Congrats on the ACM award.
Thank you.
You're
We've had a good
welcome.
year this year. We got, and Grunwald and I got inducted into the Country Radio Hall of Fame at the end of June, which was a huge honor. That was something I've never thought would happen. And then, yeah, just a couple days ago, we found out that we got nominated for a CMA award. Yeah.
What was your favorite moment at the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Oh boy. Well, there were a lot of favorite moments. First of all, my family was there. My husband, my daughter, her fiance. I don't know if you know this about me, but I was adopted from birth. And just in the last couple of years through ancestry.com, I'd have known my birth mother or father, and I found my birth father's family actually found me. I didn't find them, they found me. And so one of my brothers was there with his wife and their daughter. And so I had a lot of family there, which was nice. But like before the thing started, I'm sitting there and I see Dan and Shay walk in, and we had to give a speech that night. So I know it's like a big deal. I already knew that Trisha Yearwood was being honored. So most likely Garth Brooks was going to be there because they are inseparable. And I looked at his schedule already online. I, stalked him online and saw that he had no concerts that night. And I'm like, I'm sure Garth is going to be with Trisha. So I'm like, are they going to listen to our speech? Because that was intimidating. So she got a big award that night. She was recognized, and Garth was there, but he stood in the back of the room with a mask on, a cowboy hat on. You barely, unless you looked, you barely even saw him. But I it was funny for me because Dan and Shay were literally sitting at the table next to me. Grunwald and I were at the same tables. He was across the room, and I had Dan and Shay sitting right next to me. And we were the last ones to get our awards. So I think it was Shay had already got up and left. He didn't stay till the very end. But it was just fun, like having Dan and Shay sitting right next to us. My daughter wants them to sing at her wedding next summer. And she's like, would this be a good time to ask them if they'll sing at our wedding for free? And I'm like, no, probably. I'm like, don't ask them. Don't say anything. But it was a really fun night. Like, I didn't expect all these big, like, country music artists to be there. I'm like, it's country music radio. It's going to be a bunch of radio people. And then you see Dan and Shay walk in, and you see, Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of big people here. So it was really fun seeing all the celebrities there that night. I was kind of like, wow, this is a much bigger deal. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, but it was a really big deal because you had a lot of big celebs there.
What was your speech based on mostly?
You asked some very good questions, Max.
Thank you.
It's funny because I was saying, like, that was probably the most anxiety I've ever had, the most nervous I've ever been, is having to give that speech that night. Everybody had a prepared speech except for me, because I knew what I was going to say. It was in my heart, and it's my life, and I felt like I didn't need to write anything down because it was already in my heart and in my head. So they had asked us to keep our speeches 5 to 7 minutes, and Grunwald and I were last. I think there were 8 people being inducted, and we were last. 2 or 3 people went a half hour. So the event went way later than it was, but that's why Shay got up and left again, before we even got to our speeches, because it went really late and people had, to get up early. So by the time Grunwald and I got up there, like, it was really late and people wanted to get out of there. And so Grunwald goes, we're going to keep it really short. We're going to keep it really sweet. We're not going to keep you here all night. Trust me, we're not going to go long. And he pulled out a piece of paper. He told me he wasn't going to prepare anything. And he pulls out it. I'm like, oh my gosh, he prepared something. So he was, short and actually I went first and then he spoke. But the gist of my speech was when I met my husband January 8th, 1988. And a couple of weeks later, there was a president of a radio station who said, you'd be really good in radio. But I didn't go to college for that. I went to college for psychology was my major and Spanish was my minor, and nothing to do with broadcasting. So he said, you should really get some, go to school and get some broadcasting. experience. So I went to broadcasting school, or I applied, and they said, you're in. It was $10,000. And I didn't have the 10,000. It started in 2 weeks, and I didn't have $10,000 to pay for. I was 25 at this time. And so my new boyfriend of like 2 months, my now husband, he was doing pretty well. He was in sales and made good money. And he said to me, he goes, I will pay. They gave me a 50% scholarship. So it came down to 5,000. But he said, I'll pay for it. But I just want you to promise me that you'll do something with it and not waste my money. So I kind of dedicated the award to my husband and said, look, I did something with it. I didn't waste your money. I actually followed through with the school and made it my career. And I wanted to like thank my daughter. This will get me emotional, but I've been in morning radio my whole life, and my daughter, we have only child. My boss wouldn't let me have her first day of kindergarten off. She never, her whole life, from the day she started preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way to her senior year, she never had her mother at home with her to get her up, to feed her breakfast, to kiss her goodbye, say I love you, help her get dressed, do her hair on a picture day. Like, she never had her mom there with her. And I know there's a lot of single parents, and single parents do it every day, but I just felt bad because she had a mom, but I was never there for her in the morning. And my husband had to, he had to wear both hats every single morning and get her up and get her off to school. I picked her up. I was a picker-upper, but I mean, I don't want to say I regret it, but I once she was old enough, I took her with me everywhere I could go. I took her to every concert. She was on Luke Bryan's bus with me. She was backstage with Taylor Swift with me, because I never wanted her to resent my career, because it took me away from her so much. So to make up for not being there in the mornings with her, I would always take her with me to concerts and a lot of things on the weekends. Everyone got used to, the record reps got used to me, the fact that most likely my daughter was going to be with me, so I wanted to thank my daughter, and apologize for not being there in the mornings for her, and tell them how much I love them and thank them for their support. That was pretty much what my speech was about. And see why I didn't have to write it down? It's from my heart.
Grunwald said he had to think of what he was gonna write, and
oh yeah, but Grunwald gets really, I don't know if you can tell just from talking to us, Grunwald's a little more like high strung, and he gets really nervous about stuff. And when he gets nervous, he starts sweating, and it's really funny, Max. But I'm a little more easygoing. But the funny thing was that night, the event was going so late. At one point, I'm at my seat and I'm going, I could fall asleep right now, because we go to bed. We have to go to bed early because of our hours. And this was on a Thursday night down in Nashville. And so they're an hour back. So at 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's really 11:30, 12 o'clock. So we were tired. At one point, I'm like, I had put my head down. I'm like, I could fall asleep right now. And I'm like, I still have to go up there and speak in front of Dan and Shay and give this speech. So, it was a fun night. But no, he had a very, very well written speech. And I thanked Grunwald. To be honest with you, I don't think I would have been inducted if it wasn't for Grunwald, because you have to apply for it. And I'm one of these people, I'm like very humble, and I probably never would have even said, like, I want to apply to be in the Country Radio Hall of Fame. And so he nudged me. We did it together, which is very unusual. I think we're only that like second or third people have been inducted together, because normally you do it individually. So I'm also very grateful to Grunwald, and I thanked him, because I probably would have been inducted if it wasn't for him saying he wanted to go in there together and us getting in together.
What is your least favorite thing to talk about on air?
Anything that I don't know or get, like anything that I can't contribute to. For example, like a TV show, I don't know, I'm trying to think of it. I didn't watch Ozark or Yellowstone. I just watched those like literally this year, so when the guys want to talk about something, they talk about video games all the time, and I don't really play, so I don't know. So really, I like to talk. So anything really that I don't know about, I know a little bit about a lot of things. But if it's a show I've never watched or binged, or a game I've never played, and I can't really say anything, then that's probably my least favorite.
Is it hard
and we never talk about, by the way, politics or religion, because you're never going to please all the people. Some people are going to go, oh yeah, I love you, that's great, I feel the same way. And other people are going to go like, oh, I'm not listening to you anymore, because that's not how I think. So we always stay away from topics like religion and politics.
Is it hard to report outside for radio in the winter, do stuff outside in the winter with radio?
Yeah, it's well, I always say there's a silver lining. Like Grunwald does this thing every year where he camps out. He camps out downtown in Detroit and raises money for the Ronald McDonald House of Detroit. And it's miserable for him because it's cold out and he hates it. He does it for like 2 or 3 nights and he's miserable. But yet, like, we also, it also allows you to get creative when it's really cold out. Like we did a thing a couple of years ago. We did this thing where it was like really cold out, like record-breaking cold temperatures here in the Motor City. And we did like some of these things that you do outside where you freeze things, where you make things explode, or you make a banana freeze. And we posted it on social media, and this was before TikTok even. This was probably, I don't know, 5-7 years ago. But we got like a ton of of hits by doing crazy stuff like that out in the cold. So sometimes you have to get creative and think like, okay, what can we do that's entertaining for our audience? And now social media is so big too. It's not just on the air. We're required to do things on social media as well and get hits on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. So you're always having to think about ideas.
What are your favorite events to be at and do radio at?
Oh, that's a tough one. I love our St. Jude Radiothon. I just, that's something I'm very passionate about. They've flown all of us down there. We've toured the hospital. We've seen the kids. We all have, Grunwald and I especially know a boy here in Detroit who lost his life to cancer and was a St. Jude patient. And, that's so near and dear to our heart that I love doing the St. Jude broadcast. And actually, we've had some of the most fun. We've done broadcasts from cruise ships before. The Disney cruise ships all have radio stations on them. And we've broadcast for a week from the Disney cruise ship a couple times. And that, Max, is a blast. And all the on-site stuff. We did a broadcast from Turks and Caicos last year, right around the holidays. And it's so much fun when you get like a free vacation and they take care of you and put you send on excursions and stuff, and you're broadcasting. It's like that's living the life. It's a lot of fun.
Do you air on other stations, or are you only on 99.5?
No, we're not syndicated. Our morning show, Josh Racheal Grunwald, is just here on 99.5 YCD. I mean, we're on the Audacy app. If you have the Audacy app, you can listen to us anywhere,
it's a great
app. In the country or in the world. But yeah, we just, but no, we're like Rob and Holly. They are Rob and Holly are syndicated. They're heard like in other stations around the country. But no, we're just here in Detroit.
And I'm also wearing the All American Summer shirt.
Oh, look at you! Good for you. Thanks, Max.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your support too. I want you to know that.
Yes. Do you have any other cats other than Buddy?
Oh yeah. Well, I've had many over the years, but right now, presently, I have 2. They're both long-haired black cats. You saw Buddy. He's super friendly. The other one is Buster. They're Buddy and Buster. Buster's a lot bigger than Buddy. He's more scared. I think he's upstairs. We just had today, and actually I have 3 more cats in my basement that don't come upstairs. My daughter and her fiance moved in with us during the pandemic. They were living in Atlanta, and they have a dog and 3 cats that live in our basement that don't like the cats stay down there, but they're away. So I'm taking care of them right now too. But we had an electric vehicle charger installed in our garage today for my husband's new vehicle company car that's coming in, which is electric. So our cats are really skittish because they were here for 6 hours and drilling. And I mean, it was crazy. So most of them are kind of hiding right now, but Buddy doesn't, he's not bothered by stuff like that.
Oh, what car?
I'm a cat person though, in case you can't tell.
What car electric is coming?
Volvo. My husband works for a company. So he's in the pharmaceutical industry, and he works for a company called Novartis. And they're, every company, you have a company vehicle, but every so many years they switch them out, and everyone's getting electric vehicles. He had a choice, I think, of a Tesla and a few other things, but he's a big guy, so it's hard for him sometimes to fit into. And they don't offer any Tesla you want. It's like this one, So yeah. I think he actually went to the dealerships and tested them. I think the Volvo was the one that he fit in the most. So, but the car's not here, but we got the charger ready.
All right. One final question I have is,
yes,
who is your favorite person to work with on the air or on radio?
I've worked with a lot of great people. But I have to say, I love working with Josh. He's fun. He and I laugh a lot. Grunwald is one of the goofiest people like I've ever. Grunwald is one of these people who makes you laugh like all the time. The way he is on the air, like the smart aleck comments, like that's the way he is off the air. Like we've driven to concerts together up to Pine Knob, and he'll roll down his window. And, someone's walking down the road. Hey Frank, how are you? And the guy's like, it's not Frank, and I'm just like, you are the weirdest. Like he's just always like goofy and funny. So he's, I think actually, to be honest with you, I've been on YCD for a while and I've worked with a lot of great people. I think our show right now with Josh and Grunwald and I think we fire on all cylinders. We're funny. Josh is young and kind of help represents the younger audience. And, Grunwald and I have been there for a while. And I think that we all mesh really well together. But Grunwald's done a great job. I've worked with them for 20 years, literally. It's crazy.
It's a great show.
Thank you.
Amazing specials.
Thank you.
It never gets bored. Like
why don't you come in sometime during our morning show, Max?
I've thought of that actually.
I know are you in school at that time?
Yeah, I have to figure that out. But one day maybe
for an hour or so, right before, or go, get permission to come in late. It's actually very educational.
Maybe in November, I'll see what I can do. It's been very fun, but I thought Josh was the one with the smart aleck comments.
Well, they're very different, but Grunwald's smart alecky too. Maybe, on the air he tones it down a little bit. He's got a wisecrack comment for everything. He's pretty funny. He's entertaining. You'll find out. Come on in and you'll see.
Yes. All righty.
Hey, Max, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you too. I will post this later today. I'll send it an email. I'll tag you on Instagram and I'll do all that stuff.
Please do.
I will.
It was a pleasure. You enjoy your evening.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thanks,
and
Meg.
I'll talk
to Josh and those other guys for you.
All righty. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max.
All right.
Racheal Hunter.